So I'm going to open it up
I think that's
to everybody here. If you have questions for Amy, because I think you'd all want to hear a little bit more about what, but you might have some specific questions which I'm not asking.
I actually like working in the constraints of the script, but be given the opportunity to go off script if I feel the urge. Because I remember I did Glee, and Ryan Murphy was like, you don't have to say these lines. And I'm like, okay. But, I'm doing it, and I'm feeling really bad because I really don't feel like saying anything else. But the lines seem to work. So I'm like, I hope I didn't disappoint you. But there was, so sometimes it doesn't require any ad-libbing, especially, if it's well written. If it's well written, it's just fine.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I like to work with what is written. But given the opportunity, it's nice. Because, Curb Your Enthusiasm, that's just all ad-lib. And I remember when I was watching the show, I would get a little annoyed because, I come from an improv background where you don't talk unless you have something to say. Really. So I didn't talk hardly at all in the beginning because I had nothing to say. I was so terrified. So I was always doing, space work in the back, ironing or putting dishes away. I was active, I was in the moment, but I didn't talk. And that show made me crazy because people were just filling air with gibberish. So it was like, that's a great thing. I really think it's a great thing. It's great. It's great. What you're doing is great. I love what you're doing. And in real life, people generally don't do that, right? Unless they're nervous or strange, they just say something that they feel is necessary to say. So when I was doing that show, it's improvised, but he gives you an end point and what the story is. Mm-hmm. So it was great because you're able to finish it pretty quickly, and then they'll give you notes but you have a certain amount of time to be able to do your whatever you need to do, and that was fun for me. And I did not go on and on and on. It would be great, but places like Marvel or some new pilots, if you're a guest star, they don't want you to know anything because they're so worried. I think, who cares? Do they care? Maybe they do. I just would not, care if, because it's registered. It's not like somebody's going to steal. I don't understand any of that. But it's so common now, non-disclosure agreements and only getting your scene or sides. If you're auditioning for a regular on a show, they will absolutely give you the whole script. But, if you're guest starring, oftentimes that's all you'll get. And you just go, okay, then. This is what I'm going to do. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Don't know. Well, I'm lucky I started in theater. I guess. I think. So there was never really any question. Because, we were a theater in San Francisco made up of Filipinos, Japanese, Chinese, maybe a Korean or two. There weren't a lot in San Francisco, I guess. But, we were telling our own stories, and we didn't have really a choice. We certainly weren't going to just get Filipinos to play Filipinos in a Filipino play, because there were only like 2 actors in the company that were Filipino. So, but it was we were serious about what we were doing, so we would, do our best to portray. And I think we did a good job doing that. So as long as I could portray something, as a character accurately in a play that was really giving voice to an experience, which was really important, I never felt uncomfortable. The only thing I felt uncomfortable about was my name. It was always just looked weird on the program. I've gotten over it now. Because now what happens is people assume that I'm Filipino, if I've done a good job, the Filipinos come up and go, salamat po. And I'm like, hindi ako Pilipina. And, I feel like I've done my job. Because now I come here and everybody's like, oh, Auntie, welcome back. And I'm like, I'm not from here. I'm from LA. I was born in Deadwood, South Dakota. Raised in Seattle. Spent a good deal of time anyway. So, but I try to not make my Hawaiian ohana mad at me. Yes, because when you're doing theater, the audience is also part of that experience. So really, depending on what how the audience, that's why I miss sitcom acting too, is because you don't even know there are laughs that are going to happen or emotions that are coming from the audience. You don't know until the audience is there. And every night it changes. So, and because that changes, your performance also changes. So it's all really one experience every night, different. So when you're doing film, you're like, you're with the other actors, so you have that experience, or the other actors. And so it's all about sort of shutting all of the crew out and the camera. You sort of have to be aware of the camera and the light, because you'll always get, you were out of your light. And you have to go, you were blocking their light. So you always have to be aware of those weird things. But in theater, you have to be aware of things too, because you're not actually in a house. You're on a stage that you think is a house. But so that is a huge thing. And then you don't have you don't have any sense of, if nobody can laugh when you're doing a comedy. You have to be quiet. So you're like doing something funny and you're going, was that funny? Did it work? Is that okay? It's just weird. So I don't think I was meant to do film and television. I still love theater the best. But I've learned how to do it better. Yes, if you go to Amazon Prime right now, I'm on a show called Kung Fu Panda, Paws of Awesomeness. I am a grandma panda, and I'm very good at fighting. I'm a little bit irascible, so it's great. So I do a lot of animation. Well, you realize that you cannot convey anything visually. It all has to come through your voice. So, again, there are people who are just brilliant at it. I've been in a room and I just think, wow. And most of them don't get on-camera work at all. They're just brilliant. Mm-hmm. But they're something, I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens, why they're not, starring in film and television. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes you see these big stars that go and do animation and they're the stars and their voice is dead. They cannot convey all the emotions and stuff through their voice. I am limited. I can do certain characters, like I'm really good at old ladies. Like in this one, I'm old lady. And when they ask me, like in animation, you get booked for a part, but they're allowed to have you do, I think, 2 or 3 other voices. So they'll say, you're villager number 2. And I'm like, what am I going to, what other voice can I do? I don't have a huge backlog of different voices. So I try to think about characters I've done in sketch comedy or something. But I'm with people and they're just like, they're literally schizophrenic. They're talking to themselves. One, Scottish puppy dog and a old man, and they're just doing all these different characters in front of me, switching off and on. And I think, I don't know how you do that.
Robert Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams for one, but he only did one, but he can just go crazy anyway.
Yeah.
Because I used to because he was around when I was doing improv in San Francisco, and he'd come in.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, we'd just take over. Yeah. You just stand there and just iron. He was he's a lovely, lovely man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's one of those. But there are a lot of people that are amazing like that.
Yep.
Not me. But I'm lucky that I have done a few. Yes, I am. You need to be multi-talented. You just have to try a lot of things. I mean, I wrote for Puzzle Place for a while, and then I did a couple of HBO's Fairy Tales for Every Child. Again, another diverse animation that they had on HBO. But writing for television always makes me nervous. I always send in the script, and I think they're going to call and say, "Who do you think you are? This is crap." You know what I mean? Writing terrifies me.
Yeah.
And then they'll just say, "We just have a few notes." Okay. So, writing is difficult for theater too. Like the first play I wrote was autobiographical, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be judged on acting, on writing, my life. I really was terrified. But once you so you have to say yes. This is the great thing from improv that you learn, is that you just say yes and. So if somebody gives you an offer like the solo show, somebody called and said, "I heard you had a solo show," and I went, "Yes, I didn't." And they said, "Well, we're doing this little festival in LA, 20 minutes, all solo shows." And I said, "Oh, okay." And this is before the internet. So I said, "Oh, I don't have access to the script right now." And so I wrote it in a month. And that developed into a full length. So anyway, just say yes and, which will then open. And I didn't think I was going to write for television. And then somebody said, "Oh, would you be interested in writing for this children's show?" Terrifying. Yes, sure.
Right.
Yeah. And then, directing. When I was at the Asian American Theater Company, they'd say, "Amy, you want to direct a show?" Okay. I have no idea what I'm doing. But, you got to just try. And then try really hard to do it well. That's the key. To work really hard. And what's funny is, I noticed along the way, a lot of times people just do stuff because they're just really, they were born a different way. They just do it. They say, "I'm a director," and they just start directing, or "I'm a writer," and they just start writing. So then they let the action, they don't really know what they're doing, and they're not very good at it, but the act of doing it gets you work sometimes.
Good.
It's really bizarre. So I think sometimes culturally, Asian Americans are more like, well, I have to, do it well before I actually label myself as a writer or a director or whatever. Well, there's some people out there in the world who are just entitled. They were born entitled, and they just go out there and say, "Here I am," and they have nothing behind it. Nothing, and they manage to succeed, or succeed momentarily, and then people go, "Oh, wait a minute, they don't know what they're doing," and they fail. But I think sometimes we need to have a little bit more chutzpah. Go out and believe in what because you're all working really hard to do what you do. That you just have to believe in what you do, and believe that you can do it well. They're lucky to have you. Just have that feeling going in. I don't always have it, but but I'm saying you should. All of that is true. It informs my stuff. But I also want to say that, so when I was writing the solo show, I had done sketch comedy, and one of the rules is yes and, but also add information. Don't just go blah, 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 blah. But adding information required a lot of writing. And you go through it afterwards. For me, my school of thought is you go through and things pop up that make sense. As I'm working with a director and a dramaturg, they're going, oh, that's an interesting place to go, and that's an interesting place. And, so you sort of sense that. But definitely when you're doing improvisation, you're writing as you're working and adding information. So you don't ever write anything that over again. Don't repeat yourself. If there's anything else you can do that. Because you have to really want it so bad that you're okay with never working. You know what I mean? I was I was acting on the back porch of my family house for neighbors. I never thought, because you didn't see people. Now there are more people that look like us on television, but when I was young, there weren't. So I didn't think that was a career option. I just thought that's what I loved to do. And so I'm lucky that it's the old adage of, follow your passion and the money will come. I just always was passionate about it. When I was in San Francisco, I made $500 a month on some government grant working at Asian American Theater Company in the office. But that was like, wow, $500 a month. I wasn't getting paid to act. I was working in the office of the Asian American Theater Company. But, I was taking classes everywhere, and I was just living the best life I could possibly live. I was so happy. I mean, living, eating, breathing, acting and theater and creating stories, and it was just so wonderful. And there have been times in the business where I thought, I got to be able to do something else. Not because I wasn't working, but sometimes because I was, and I was feeling like I was getting paid not to act. I'd be on, they'd say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Or, Wayne saying, don't think. It's like you're feeling like you're missing out on an opportunity to see what I can give you, but you don't want that. Why? And it's painful as an actor, but I know how to do it. I know how to hit my mark and fulfill whatever their needs are. But as an artist, it's like if you're a fine painter and they want you to, I don't know, put tablecloths on tables and make sure they're on straight. You just feel diminished. So that's something you also have to face. But always maintain that core of who you are. And I have to say also, if you're any kind of artist, living a life is really important. Being involved with people that have nothing to do with the arts, being involved with just reading the paper, going, out, walking through the woods, all the things that you do as a living human being informs who you are. Having a family, having kids, all informs everything. I mean, I adopted a child at the age of 47. I know. Which was, as a single mom, was exhausting. But, it really, I think, deepened my ability to reach down and into myself because I was so tired. That there was so much more that would come up that I used to maybe analyze too much. It was hard. Yeah. And you don't know. You think, because I was really busy, and everybody's like, well, how are you going to do that? You're so busy. Well, you say no to more stuff. You just say no to stuff. And it's, of course, because I I think all mothers and fathers probably feel guilty. I think, oh dear, she's probably going to need therapy because I wasn't always there and many different people took care of her. I think everybody was nice. There was no abuse or anything. But, I mean, it wasn't like I was home all the time. And that was hard on me, too. But mostly it was friends and family and a few other caregivers. And she's experienced a lot of things. And, I mean, I think I gave her a good life. She's at the University of Hawaii, Manoa right now.
Wow, hey.
I know.
That's great, that's great.
Yeah, she got that before I got this job. So I was kind of nervous about telling her, I'm following you to Hawaii. Don't mind me. I'll just be 10 minutes away. Anyway. But you do the best you can. Now you realize, and this is the reason you have kids, I think, in life anyway, is that you're not so hard on your own parents. After that, you think, oh my God, how did they do it? I only have one, they had 3. So, yeah, you just do it. And I think I said maybe, in some ways, I felt like a better actor, so maybe I was more fortunate getting roles too. I said no to a lot of stuff, but it seemed like my career sort of blossomed after I had her in many ways, and I think I was better at accessing myself. So, yeah.
Probably gives you a set of experiences that you never had before, so consequently it broadens you. Yeah. Does she want to be an actress?
Well, in LA, there's so many kids that have parents that act. A lot of them already have agents. So she'd come to me and say, I want an agent. And I'd say, I'm not taking you around. I don't like going to auditions for me.
Yeah.
I'm not taking you to auditions. If you like it enough, if you have a passion, you'll get there on your own.
Yeah.
I'm not taking you in, but it's hard because you've got friends that kids are on series and they're making a ton of money, and I think, oh well.
Yeah, my daughter's
so she's just going to be poor. Social worker or something, I don't know. But she did some plays with me, and she was really good. But she never really had that passion.
Yeah.
So she was good. She could do it if she wanted to, but I think she doesn't want it enough. Yeah. Career-wise, I feel like the last few years have been really great because I've worked with people that I really enjoy working with. And they've given me a lot of freedom to do what I feel not comfortable, but that I feel like I can actually be my best self as an actor. So Crazy Ex-Girlfriend has been one of those, and Just Add Magic, kids show. I loved working on that. It gave me so much freedom. The scripts were really good, and generally the directors were really great to work with. not all of them, but the kids were great. But I had a really nice character that I got to sort of sink my teeth into. But it's on Amazon Prime for kids. Magnum, it's not a big part, showy part, but it's a part that I feel really invested in. And Unreal, that was another, in the beginning, creating a nice, interesting character, and it was really nice to be able to work through these things. I worked on this show called Preacher, too. Do you know that one? That's weird. And they asked me to play, I was playing, what was I? I ran hell. So that was weird and fun, and doing a character from a graphic novel that didn't exist actually in the graphic novel. But anyway, that was so I've had a lot of opportunities to do really varied people, and sort of, I enjoy that because I like to sort of investigate different characters to see what I can do. Oh, that was the first time, that was the first time I was playing something so specific that it was made me really nervous because I wasn't that familiar with playing Hawaiian. So I spent time, working on the pigeon. Fortunately, I was working with Pomai Brown, who helped me. I like working with people who can help me out. Like he was like on-set coach. Yeah, and Adam was really wonderful. Everybody was really great on that show, the movie. Yes, they had some locals as extras here, but we shot the interiors in Los Angeles at Sony Studios. So they actually tried to find extras that were Hawaiian as well, and they kept them and flew them over here to continue their extra role capacity, which was cool. Because like some of the extras were like, guys that worked on, like, I don't know, they were crew on something, or because there's a few people in LA that are from Hawaii. So they, tried to cast people that they could use both places. So it'd be funny because I knew they were in LA, and then I'd come to, when we came here to shoot the exteriors, and no interiors, but sort of, anyway.
You can see them, right?
Yeah, you could see them. And I'd be like, wait a minute. You live here or there? Oh no, they flew me out. I'm like, wow, good for you. You know what? I liked, from All American Girl, this is really old, but my mother, when she liked something, she had an accent, I already said that, but she would, because in Japanese she'd do the same thing, but if something was good, she'd say, oh, it's so good. And then if it was better than just good, she'd say, good. And then if it was really, really good, she'd say, good. I did that on All American Girl. That thing, because it was so nice to be able to create, those little weird idiosyncrasies that not everybody does, not every character, but that my mother was, she was very dramatic.